Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Held Dominance, Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you're seeing and want to see more. Coming up in this video, a full round of Super League fixtures, a report from Ghana over their championship game to culminate their season, and a start to the next round of fixtures between Wigan and Saints in a windy, wet and wild one at the Totally Wicked Stadium. So we start today's video with a look into the Rugby League Federation of Ghana as they're going into their final weekend with the championship game between the Bulls and the Skolars to decide who's going to be champions going into the game. The Bulls were top on points scored with 5 played, 4 wins and 1 loss during their 6-game season, with the Skolars with 1 draw as being a difference. If the Skolars win, then they win by points scored, as they have a vastly superior points difference. And the game got off to the cagey start as you would expect to any championship game, as both teams felt themselves out either way, not conceding any points, good defence and some handling errors unfortunately, which kept the game at 0-0. Skolars though were handed a penalty. Skolars Chris Degama took the conversion to set the scores at 2-0. A little bit further down the line, the Bulls were handed their own penalty themselves, and they decided to take 2 as well. Kawaku Osei Akato taking the 2 to make it 2-2. This isn't how the first half was supposed to go, as they were all guns blaring throughout the season, but they were still being a bit cagey. The Bulls seemed cagier as the 2, as Jordan Annan scored with a good try, making the score 6 points to 2. Unfortunately, this time Degama could not make the conversion. After half time, the Bulls seemed to have picked up a pace, as a few minutes in, Kenneth Achiri got the scores level at 6-all, and Achiri took it further by converting the try to make it 8-6 to the Bulls. And as the lights were fading and the scores were staying as they are, with good defence against handling errors unfortunately, it seemed like the Bulls were going to come out on top and win the championship. And it turned out that as the lights were dimming and we're coming to the end of the game, a great run by Emmanuel Chimpong decided the game, as he crashed over to make it 12 points to 8. Chris Degama did convert the try, and that's how the score ends, and the Skolars won the championship, and celebrations ensued. After the game, I spoke to one of the players, William Pearce-Binney, about the game in total, and he said, "It was a tough game. The Bulls gave everything and were worthy champions if they got over the line with the win today. They have been excellent all season. It was a very close game. The Bulls were top going into the game, and we would have to be on top form to beat them to the championship. Our boys came through in the end, and that's what counts today." So big congratulations goes out to the Skolars team and the fantastic effort from the Bulls team, as they were top going into the game and were unfortunate that they weren't able to get over the line. Did so well, kept the Skolars fighting, and almost got there in the end. Hopefully they'll come back stronger and be closer towards that championship, which they almost got this year. Now for my Super League roundup, as we start off with the Wigan versus Warrington game from the 30th of June at the DW Stadium. And it was a bad to worse situation for Wigan, who had come into the game having lost 3 games beforehand, and Warrington on good form with some star players coming to the fore. Tries from Wrench, Malmo, Davis set up the start of the game for Warrington, while Powell came over for one try for Wigan, which was followed up by another try from Malmo, and then it was just switching tries. But in the end, Warrington were too good, with Jake Malmo scoring a hat-trick. Isa and Gildart did get over the line for Wigan, but further tries from Hughes, Curry, and 6 goals from Ratchford mean that the scores were 44 points to 14 in the Wire's favour. So the next game we're going to look at is the Huddersfield game versus Catalans, as they played hosts on Thursday the 1st of July at the John Smith Stadium, and it kind of went one way for most of this game, as James Maloney led the way as Catalans strengthened their position at the top of the Betfred Super League with a crushing 50 points to 12 win over a patched up Huddersfield Giants. Australian standoff, Maloney scored 22 points as the French side ran in 8 tries to 2 at the John Smith Stadium and extend their winning run in the Super League to 7 matches. Steve McNamara was pleased. They carved out their 10th win of the season, 7 of which came coming on English soil, but concerned over indiscipline with 3 players sin-binned. It was the 4th successive defeats for an injury-hit Giants, who handed a debut to Will Price, the 18-year-old son of former Great Britain standoff Leon Price, in the absence of 3 first-choice halfbacks. Price is here pictured getting a hug off his dad Leon. Maloney opened the scoring with a penalty after Giants prop James Garvett was pulled up for a late tackle, with the visitors gradually beginning to assert their authority. Benjamin Julian won the race to touchdowns. Scrum half Josh Drinkwater's grubber kick after 18 minutes, and his second row partner Mike McMeekin steamed onto a Maloney pass to score the Catalans' second try 10 minutes later. The Dragons were on a roll and pressure told for 4 minutes before half time when Tompkins chimed into the line to get Samisoni Langi over the line for their 3rd try, and was converted by Maloney to put the visitors 20 points up at the break. Huddersfield took advantage of a sin-binning of substitute forward for Dragons, Jason Battieri, following some persistent effort ending to score a try through Goulding, who finished off a superb break from centre Jake Wardle. Oliver Russell added the conversion, but the Catalans were still down to 12 men when Garcia restored his size 20-point advantage, forcing his way from dummy half for the 4th try. Battieri was still waiting to come on when replacement hooker Arthur Morgo pounced on a handling error by fullback Ollie Ashall-Bolt of Huddersfield to score with his first touch. And, as the Giants wilted, Tompkins won the race to Drinkwater's delicate kick for a try, and Maloney then ghosted his way through the home defence to score Dragons' 7th try. Huddersfield coach Ian Watson sent on Price after 62 minutes, and the youngster quickly made his mark, slipping a nice pass out of the tackle for Wardle to score the home side's 2nd try, which Russell did convert. The Catalan side finished the game with 11 men after Drinkwater and prop Dudson were both shown yellow cards by Ben Thaler for separate incidences of foul play, but still managed to create an overlap for Davis to score the final try, which Maloney converted to bring up the half-century. Ian Watson has some work to do, unfortunately, on that side. We know that Theo Farge is joining next season, but it looks like Adam Caesar is going out the door to Leeds Rhinos. Our next game was between the Leeds Rhinos and the Leeds Centurions, which was also held on Thursday the 1st of July at the Admiral Headingley Stadium. And going into the game, Lee hadn't won a game all season, unfortunately, and were looking not to be too overawed by the game, as Leeds were depleted by a few players and throwing in some youngsters. But Leeds had an upward form, I'd say upward form, as they played Salford last week in a very tempestuous game, which saw 7 people from that game see disciplinary action. So suspensions were also depleting Leeds for this game. But just to summarise the game, teenager Jack Broadbent scored his first Super League hat-trick and finished with 4 tries as Lee Rhinos thrashed Lee Centurions 48 points to 18 to record a second big win in 5 days. The winger now has 7 tries in his last 3 appearances for Rhinos, following up Sunday's fiery game at Salford. Lee, under the guidance of interim coach Kurt Hegarty for a 5th time, played their part in an entertaining encounter, but they folded after initial promise and have now suffered 13 straight defeats. Lee have not won its Headingley since 1984, and only momentarily did that hoodoo look like to end. But normal service was quickly restored and Leeds eased to a 17th victory in the side's last 18 meetings. Scoring points has not been an issue for the Centurions in 2021, and they brought up 200 points for the season in Super League with Matty Russell's 3rd-minute try and Ryan Braley's conversion. However, neither Haggerty nor his predecessor John Duffy figured out how to stop opponents scoring against their own side. Any optimism quickly faded with James Ball's yellow card for a tip tackle on England prop Mikola Jeletsky, and when the ex-Toulouse Olympic forward returned, Leeds led 10-6 after tries from James Donaldson and Broadbent. The hosts were well on their way to the 5th successive win as Broadbent, Cruz Leeming and Liam Sutcliffe recovering for a bout of COVID-19. Sutcliffe was struck before the break. Reece Martin converted just 2 of his team's opening first half tries, so 2 out of 5 basically. Otherwise, Leeds would have won by a further bigger margin. However, supporters need not worried as the Rhinos stayed on the offensive for much of the second period as well. Mark Ione cut the deficit with 49 minutes, but Leeds were back on the attack, and Broadbent should have completed his treble after 52 minutes, only to drop the ball with the try line at his mercy. He was not denied a career breakthrough though, as he swooped on Leeds' vulnerable right edge after 58 minutes. The visitors conceded further 2 tries to Leeds, and 2 of their prospects, Sam Walters and Tom Holroyd, while Broadbent touched down for his 4th of the night in the closing stages. Martin finished with 6 goals, while Ryan Brierley notched his 199th career try for Lee before leaving the field with an injury. So that's it for the games that were available in round 12, as other games such as St Helens versus Castleford, Hull KR matches versus Hull was called off due to injuries, COVID-19 and other circumstances which were beyond their control. So those games will either be replayed, or in Saints' case they got a 24-0 win against Castleford. But that's not the end of the games that were showing this week, as last night, which was the 4th of July 2021, Sunday, we saw another game for round 13, and that was Wigan versus Saints at the Totally Wicked Stadium. It wasn't the best of nights for Rugby League, to be fair, as the weather was completely lambasting the entire game. But just to summarise, Lachlan Coots, who played a starring role in St Helens, piled on more misery on the Wigan Warriors with a 24 points to 6 victory over their local rivals. Coots, who had earlier this week been linked with a move to Hull KR next season, was instrumental as they dominated the first 40 minutes, Saints putting up the kick which led to Regan Grace's try and crossing over for one of his own, along with 2 conversions and 3 penalties. Yellow cards either side of the break for Kai Pearce-Paul and Willie Isa left Wigan temporarily down to 11 men as well, with Mark Percival pushing the Hulls further ahead with a try on his return to the side. The second half became increasingly scrappy in the torrential rain, but there was no stopping St Helens as they put one over their old rivals. Liam Farrell's converted score provided scant consolation for Wigan, who went down to their 5th loss of fifth loss in a row. St Helens looked refreshed after their 17-day break, while Wigan were playing their second top flight 5 clash in 5 days, and the rigorous were clearly taking their toll on Adrian Lamb's injury-hit team, who are experiencing their worst run since 2006, when they just won 2 of their first 16 games. Wigan won their first 7 games of the Super League season, which was the best start to Super League for many a year. It is worrying times for last year's grand final runners-up. This was the first meeting with Saints since Jack Wellesby grabbed a last-second 8-4 win in November's epic grand final, but it never looked like a close encounter due to the 2 injuries. Well, the injuries that Wigan have, and also the freshness that the Saints have. It was just one of those days, unfortunately, but Wigan are having too many of those days. There were some decisions by the referee which, looking on replay, were the right decision, but the torrential rain was the main factor for not seeing these results. Seeing those resulting yellow cards and penalties for Wigan, well, against Wigan should I say, being overturned. But Lachlan Coote was deadly all night, as I said, scored 1, kicked 6, 3 of which were penalties. It was a bad day for Wigan and they need a few players back. Adrian Lammer's expecting players to drip back into the squad as they're getting fitter, but it's worrying times, as I said, for Wigan, and I hope it doesn't come to too much more than that. So that's it for another video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember, like, subscribe and share these videos around, as we need to grow the game. If we're not going to do it, who else is going to do it? Anyway, thank you so much again for watching. All the best, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.